The majority of countries that have seen collapse was because of wars. Others buckled under corruption. But what if Lesotho, its governance, economy, justice system, and society was never designed to succeed? Today, we look beyond the symptoms, uncover the blueprint of Lesotho's failure, and ask the very most uncomfortable question. Is Lesotho a country engineered to fail? And was it designed to never succeed? I'm your host, Dadi P. Libita, and welcome to In Perspective, where every issue deserves a closer look.
Mr. Mandela, he knows that Lesotho was the country which was harboring him during the struggle.
Independence was supposed to bring freedom, prosperity, and sovereignty. But in 1966, Lesotho gained only the illusion of independence. Our borders were drawn not to empower us, but to isolate us. Our economy was shaped not for self-sufficiency, but for dependence on South Africa. And our government was handed to us, not built by us. Lesotho's geography should have been an advantage. Rich agricultural land, natural resources, a strategic location between economic hubs. But colonial powers carved Lesotho into a mountain prison, restricting access to major trade routes. While neighboring countries developed industries, Lesotho remained landlocked, depending on external goods. Even before independence, Basotho men were being funneled into South African mines, not as partners, but as cheap labor. Our workforce was never meant to build Lesotho. It was meant to serve another nation. Instead of fostering industries that could sustain us, post-independence leadership leaned on SACU revenues, donor funding, and foreign investment, not as a short-term solution, but as a permanent economic model. Aid became currency. Lesotho was never designed to produce. It was designed to beg. Lesotho was never set up to thrive. It was structured to serve others. And the cost of that dependency is a country unable to stand on its own. In Lesotho, political survival comes at the expense of true governance, and holding power has always mattered more than leading with vision. We have all executive branches of government, but do they have leadership? From the moment independence was handed to us, governance was never built for stability. It was designed for control. Leadership in Lesotho has never been about progress. It has been about access. Access to state resources, access to tenders, access to political survival. Government contracts are handed out as rewards, not based on merit. Coalition deals are negotiated for power, not for national development. Ministers are appointed through party loyalty and not experience or competence. Every government is built on fragile alliances, ensuring every administration that comes in is temporary. Parliament has been reduced to a playground and a battleground, not for policy, but for posturing and positioning. Ministers are rarely decision makers, they are gatekeepers. And the currency of survival? Corruption. State funds vanish into personal accounts. Economic policies shift to favor the elite, not national interest. The law bends to those who are in power. Lesotho does not have governance. It has management of survival. And when survival is the only goal, leadership never truly exists. What happens when a country refuses to fund its police force? Officers are underpaid, stations lack resources, and crime transforms from a problem into a way of life. Police investigation disappear when politically inconvenient, and suspects with the right connections escape prosecution. Political figures exploit lawlessness and use intimidation tactics to silence opposition. Justice protects those in power. Courts exist, but do they deliver justice, or do they delay it until the problem fades? High-profile cases stall or vanish, especially when involving government officials or business elites. Ordinary Basotho struggle for justice, while politically connected figures maneuver their way out of legal consequences. Prosecution is selective, favoring those who hold power over those seeking justice. Crime is a political weapon. In Lesotho, lawlessness is not just tolerated, it is useful. Justice in Lesotho is not blind, it is selective. And in a system where crime is an asset, lawlessness is not a mistake, it is a strategy. A strong economy produces wealth. It builds industries. It creates jobs. But Lesotho's economy does none of these things. It does not generate its own wealth. It survives on borrowed money, imported goods, and foreign assistance. Lesotho was never designed to be an economic powerhouse. We were structured to depend on South Africa, not to thrive on our own. When Britain governed Basotholand then, it never intended for the territory to be an economic powerhouse. Lesotho's borders were drawn around mountainous terrains, cutting it off from direct trade routes and limiting agricultural expansion. Instead of building industry, colonial powers trained Basotho men to work in South African mines, cementing a system where Lesotho's economic survival depended on external wages. At independence in 1966, no large-scale industry was ever established, leaving the nation without a foundation of self-sufficiency. The South African Customs Union, SACU, is supposed to help its member states grow, but for Lesotho, it became a financial crutch. Instead of investing in manufacturing, agriculture, or technology, SACU payouts became the government's primary revenue source. Every national budget relies on SACU, meaning economic policies are shaped around survival, not growth. Lesotho does not lack plans, it lacks execution. Policies are drafted reports are published, but nothing changes. Development in Lesotho is not about transformation. It is about appearances. Every year, budgets are allocated for infrastructure, health, education, and economic expansion. But where does all that money go? Roads are unbuilt, schools lack resources, clinics run out of medical supplies, including the most simple pregnancy tests and painkillers, maternity equipment, or even proper sanitation. The government creates policies that sound ambitious: anti-corruption measures, education reforms, business incentives, yet they only exist on paper. Lesotho does not develop, but it announces development. Every election cycle brings promises, policies, and new initiatives. But once the votes are counted, the projects quietly fade. Development should mean progress, but in Lesotho, it is a political tool, a way to maintain appearances, because change is not the priority, but control of the public purse is. A nation does not fail because of policies alone. It fails when its people lose hope. And today in Lesotho, society itself is unraveling. The weight of economic failure, political instability, and institutional neglect has crushed opportunities, leaving hundreds of thousands of Basotho in a cycle of survival instead of prosperity. The system has not just failed, it has broken the spirit of its people. Over 40% of Basotho are unemployed, not because they lack the skills, but because opportunities simply do not exist. Poverty has not only taken hold, it has been normalized. Over half of Lesotho's population lives below the poverty line, not because they do not work, but because the economy itself excludes them. Wages remain stagnant, industries remain weak, and livelihoods remain uncertain. Crime is no longer a symptom. It is an alternative system of survival. The economy, driven by subsistence farming, foreign-controlled market prices, and failing rain patterns, offers no security. Families do not plan for a future. They navigate their survival on a daily basis. The youth, disconnected from history, face a future where they question whether Lesotho even has a place in the modern world. Religion and nationalism, instead of being pillars of unity, are weaponized. Leaders use them to distract the population from deeper systemic failures rather than guiding a nation towards meaningful change. Society does not collapse in a single moment. It crumbles when people stop believing in the future. And today in Lesotho, people aren't just losing faith in politicians, they are losing faith in the country itself. The nation that once stood for resilience now faces the silent erosion of its own identity. For decades, we've asked how Lesotho got here. But perhaps the real question is, was it always meant to be this way? Did Lesotho fail, or was it simply built to never succeed? Lesotho is trapped in a cycle of dependence, structured to rely on external aid rather than thrive on its own. Public services exist in name only, while poverty has been woven into the fabric of society, ensuring generations remain stagnant and stuck without change. And now, at its very core, the Basotho identity itself is eroding. But change is not just difficult, it is feared. Reform threatens the political elite, who have benefited from instability, the economic weakness, and selective law enforcement. Every attempt to fix the system has been sabotaged, delayed, or dismantled. The cost of reform is power. And in Lesotho, those in control would rather maintain a broken system than risk losing their grip on power. We have survived lawlessness, corruption, and engineered failure, and yet we still ask, can Lesotho ever be rebuilt? A nation does not collapse overnight. It folds piece by piece until people finally stop believing in its future. And today, faith in the country is corroding. Without vision, without execution, without leadership, Lesotho faces more than political failure. It faces national erosion. Maybe changing leaders won't save us. Maybe we just need to redesign the country itself. So I leave you with yet another question. An uncomfortable question. Is Lesotho a country engineered to fail? Or was it designed to never succeed? This is In Perspective, where every issue deserves a closer look. Thank you for listening. See you in the next episode.